Hey y'all, welcome to Thursday BookTube, hosted by Patti at Life with Patti and Daphne at My Mountain Home and Kitchen. Today I am going to let you know about three books that I have read. They are three different presidents. When my mother retired from the hospital as a nurse's aide, she had worked for 20 years, third shift, and all the nurses said, "Well, what are you going to do when you retire?" And she said she was going to identify all the trees on our property, and she was going to read a biography of each president. So she died before she could finish that, reading a book about all the presidents. So I took on that task. I didn't mind. I love reading history. So I'll start off with Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. I always had a bad thought about him, that he was a drunk or something, but he was not like that at all. And this book goes from his early years all the way through his presidency. And it's been a long time since I've read it, so I can't give you all the details and everything. But it does have a good bibliography, and that's always important to me when I'm reading a history book, is to know that they've done a lot of research, and that much of the book is the bibliography. And I always find it interesting to read biographies of people, because I'm just naturally interested, of course. But when there's a lot of primary resources, newspapers, letters, that always makes it better. And this book is 659 pages. So if you don't mind reading a long book, then, give this one a try. I thought it was excellent. Okay, the next one. This is my mother's book. The cover's gone from it, but it's John Adams by David McCullough. I love this book. It is so good. And of course, it has a good bibliography. It's got about that many pages of bibliography. And I'm prejudiced about this book. It was my mother's. She enjoyed it. But David McCullough is my very favorite author. I have several more of his books, and I want to make sure I get all the books that he ever wrote. I am just on the first page. I'm caught up. I'm ready to read, because I always find his writing is very descriptive. It's informative. Let me see how many pages this book is. Y'all always talking about how many pages are in the book. This is 651. But I would say one of the reasons why this book is so good is because John Adams and his wife Abigail wrote lots of letters back and forth to one another. He traveled across the ocean to England, I think France, and he described that voyage. It was hard back then, and it took about 2 months to go across the ocean. And so it's not like I was sitting on the edge of my seat, but in a way I was, because it was just so descriptive of everything that they did. And I think it was PBS that did a series. I forget the actor's name, Paul Giamatti, I think. He and Laura Linney did, I think it was a 3-part series, and it follows the book very closely. But for me, a history lover, this was an exciting book. And then next is David McCullough's Truman. And I will confess that I haven't actually put my eyes on the book and read it. I was at, I think, a Goodwill, and I found cassette tapes for this book. And so I listened to it in my truck. My truck is a 97 Ford F-250 diesel power, 7.3 Power Stroke. And it has a cassette player in it. And so I left it in the truck. I listened to this book twice. It is so good. And again, David McCullough does a lot of research, and he describes things so well. He's a good storyteller. And I just loved it. And of course, the bibliography is good, which is very important to me. And when I read these kind of books, it takes me a pretty good while, because I will stop and want to go research a little bit more, what he's talking about in the book. So those are very near and dear to me. And I think maybe next week I might do British history. I like British history. And, well, I have a lot of different kind of books. Most of them relate some way to history, because when I read history, it helps me in my family genealogy search. It helps me to understand the times that my ancestors lived in. And I can remember in high school not being that interested in history. But when you research your family tree, you want to know why things were happening. And so I started reading more history. And I like world history, English, British history. It doesn't matter. I like all of it, And sometimes it takes me a long time to grasp what's being said and connecting the dots to points in history. But I keep trying. So y'all have a good afternoon, a good evening, a good day, and please remember to be kind to someone. Someone needs your kindness today. Bye.